At sunrise, terraces step across Asia's mountains, living sculptures for rice where rivers cannot reach, from Ifugao to Longsheng. Each ledge a careful promise of food. Near water, early villages woke with the light. Here millet thrived in the north, while rice took root in the warm, wet south. Two grains shaping countless meals. Hands learned to remember. Clay turned to jars and bowls, fibers to cloth. Fun fact, some of the world's oldest pottery comes from East Asia, over 16 millennia old. Small farmsteads pulsed with the seasons. Monsoon calendars guided plough and seed, while hearth smoke traced the morning, order built from weather and work. Asia spans extremes, the world's highest peaks, broad rivers and wide plains. These landscapes became corridors of food, faith and ideas. Paths will follow now. Mountains, ancient shields, rivers, lifelines, plains, granaries. In markets, neighbors bartered stories with spices and tea. Pepper, cinnamon and silk traveled far, teaching palates and people to welcome the new. Village mornings set the rhythm, fields first, then family. Tools passed hand to hand, and skills like songs moved from elders to the young. Cities rose with planning and pride. Fun fact, Indus towns aligned streets to prevailing winds and built covered drains, cleanliness as a civic art. Today's skylines echo that vision. Layers of stone, brick and glass. The old logic of roads and records still hums beneath modern speed. Across deserts, caravans stitched worlds together. Bactrian camels, sure-footed and shaggy, hauled heavy loads through winter-cold sands to distant markets. At sea, lateen sailed dhows rode the monsoons like clockwork, outbound on one wind, home on the next, turning the Indian Ocean into a yearly timetable. Fire-shaped bronze, copper blended with tin, into blades, bells and mirrors. Smiths forged edge and ornament alike, and with new tools came new cities, new roles and fresh ambition. And by the great rivers, life would gather and grow. Next, we follow the waters. Following those rivers, dawn lifts over great valleys, life shaped by water, seasons and shared work. Families press seedlings into damp earth, canals feed furrows, and hopes rise with the floods. Irrigation spreads like branching roots across the plain. In the Indus Basin, wells and covered drains served early grid-planned towns. Hunters and gatherers bring home game and roots, and camps slowly settle into lasting villages. Storage jars and granaries keep grain safe through lean seasons, and neighbors plan for tomorrow. Wide floodplains welcome the waters. Each year, rich silt renews the soil for another harvest. Along the Mekong, nearly 4,900 kilometers, boats link mountain valleys to bustling delta markets. Braided channels shift and gleam, guiding travel, trade, and where people choose to live. Between twin rivers like the Tigris and Euphrates, lowlands cradle some of humanity's earliest cities. Homes of mud, wood, and reed breathe with the climate. Cool by day, warm by night, gifts of riverbanks. At sunrise, ploughs bite the soil, grindstones hum. Water is lifted from banks to thirsty fields. Seasons pace village life, sowing, harvests and festivals. Memories carried by elders and song. Terraces turn hillsides into mirrors. Each paddy holds a small piece of sky. Wheat and barley sway like golden tides across the plain. Oxen, sheep and cattle lend their strength, turning human skill into a river-borne engine of growth. That surplus opens a new chapter, tools and metals. From surplus to craft, we begin with stone. Knapped blades and ground axes shaped by patient hands, the first precision tools of daily life. Flint flakes fly as edges grow razor sharp. Better tools raise harvests and carve wood, lifting the rhythm of work. With improved yields came surplus, grain dried, measured, and stacked in sunlit granaries for seasons ahead. Fires burned hotter, copper ore smelted in clay furnaces, molten metal poured into prepared molds. Then bronze, an alloy of copper and tin, proved tougher than stone, reshaping knives, chisels, and spearheads. Bronze-tipped ploughs widened fields. Surplus now fed specialists, craftsmen, soldiers, and officials. Miners hauled ore, bellows roared, smiths cast and hammered metal into tools, vessels, and weapons. Potters threw durable jars, storage for grain, oil, and beer, turning surplus into security. Marks on pots and painted scrolls tracked offerings and accounts. Early writing served counting and ceremony. From early China came silk. Fine threads reeled from domesticated silkworms, woven into coveted cloth. Dyes and looms shaped identity. Textiles as warmth, status, and trade, stitched with skill. In bustling courtyards, scribes and markets linked farmers to artisans. Goods moved and ideas travelled with them, tying homes together for towns to change. With trade linking homes, at river bends, new towns took shape. Streets laid with intent, houses aligned to water and wind, and fields stitched to canals so dawn work and city life could flow together. Many early Asian cities used tidy grid plans, straight avenues, right-angled lanes, and clear quarters for work, worship, and rest. A simple idea that made crowds and carts move smoothly. Uniform bricks, shared courtyards, and standard house fronts appeared. Some even had small latrines that fed into street drains, a neat nod to comfort and cleanliness. Public works rose, temple steps for ceremony, granaries for lean seasons, and wide platforms for loading grain and goods. Big spaces serving everyday needs. Stone channels carried wastewater beneath paved streets to soak pits. Early urban sanitation that kept walkways clear and markets fresher. Inside halls, scribes tracked harvests with tokens, seals, and marks on clay. Admin that turned piles of grain into fair shares, wages, and plans. Outside, oxen pulled ploughs. Inside, potters, weavers, and clerks kept workshops humming. Specialised jobs linking farm, craft, and office. Markets stitched it all together. Textiles, pottery, spices, sold with agreed weights and measures, so a deal in one street matched a deal in the next. Granaries stored surplus, while ledgers tallied sacks. Grain could pay builders and bakers alike. A steady system turning harvest into livelihood. Walls and watchtowers guarded gates where goods and guests entered. Checkpoints that also counted trade and collected modest tolls. Civic life thrived. Councils meeting, rituals uniting neighbours, and roles shaped by craft, age, and duty. Soft power keeping busy streets in harmony. At sunrise, the plan reveals itself. Roads to fields, lanes to workshops, paths to shrines, an urban promise. Many hands, one shared project, and those streets point outward to roads and routes. Following those streets outward, river cities swelled, markets bustled, caravans arriving, boats loading. Threads of trade quietly wove Asia together. Across deserts, camel caravans moved between caravanserai, roadside inns a day apart, resting animals, swapping news, safeguarding goods. From steppe to seacoast, routes linked oases, passes, and ports, carrying jade, horses, ideas, and faiths. Silk's luster defined luxury. Chinese weavers guarded techniques while distant courts prized every shimmering thread. In narrow bazaars, spices, ceramics, and textiles changed hands. Bargaining bridged languages with weights, gestures, and trust. Clove, cinnamon, and pepper fetched fortunes. Island harvests funded kingdoms and spurred voyages that redrew sea maps. Harbours thrummed at dawn, pilots, brokers, and tallies, rivercraft meeting ocean ships to send wealth inland. Lateen sails, triangular and agile, let dhows tack against wind, turning monsoon seasons into dependable sea highways. Pilgrim routes shadowed trade, monks shared lodgings with merchants, spreading sutras, stories, and healing herbs town by town. Coastal bazaars by mosques and libraries hosted scholars and sailors. Port cities became classrooms for maps and medicine. In lamplight, scholars exchanged scrolls, astrolabes, and star tables, astronomy guiding calendars, voyages, and taxation. Abacus beads clicked as Indian numerals spread. Merchants' maths sped accounts, interest, and exchange across regions. Beneath numbers and winds waits the continent's soul. Beneath trade and tally, Asia's heart beat in forests and rivers, nurturing early rites and stories. Great rivers shaped travel, trade, and myths linking mountains to seas. Stone bridges welcomed pilgrims. Incense marked blessings for each journey. Temples sheltered artisans and elders. Oil lamps guided festivals and learning. Monasteries taught compassion, copying sutras at dawn with gentle discipline. Chants synchronized breath and memory, preserving music, medicine, and calendars. Across faiths, mosques, synagogues, and temples, neighbors shared markets and meals. Caravans met sailors. Desert spices traded for silk and porcelain at harbors. Courtyards hosted weddings, debates, and lullabies. Everyday grace in public squares. Village elders judged fairly beneath banyan shade, turning custom into law. Faces show centuries of craft. Farmers, poets, smiths, each carrying resilient hope. Scholars mapped stars for seasons and voyages, making skies a trusted calendar. That knowledge would guide rulers, rules, and duty. With learning in hand, councils weighed custom and consent. Coronations made power public, binding ruler and people in shared duty. Rituals at the temple blessed the city, while ramparts and patrols pledged protection at its edges. In courts, officials heard disputes as scribes recorded verdicts, turning memory into law and precedent. Royal audiences staged diplomacy, families, nobles, and priests presenting petitions, tribute, and counsel before the throne. Markets thrived under rules. Clerks tallied goods and dues, converting trade into taxes and steady revenue. Fields supplied the city, oxen, seed, and labor yielding the grain that underwrote festivals and armies. Archives trained apprentices to read and reckon, skills that kept stores, taxes, and treaties intelligible. Scholars pursued learning in calm halls. Examinations and libraries nurtured merit, continuity, and careful stewardship. Roads, bridges, courthouses, and palaces knit territory together, carrying justice, grain, messages, and authority. Urban workshops refined craft as rural homesteads grew food. Together, they formed a durable division of labor. Grain tribute filled state granaries, funding works, paying wages, and buffering famine. Walls and watchmen kept the peace, letting markets open and journeys continue. Peace and power fueling rising capitals. Out of that order, imperial capitals rose with walled palaces and planned avenues, administrative hearts coordinating vast provinces. Fun fact: relay posts sped royal orders across hundreds of kilometers in mere days. In warm archives, clerks logged taxes, censuses, and maps. Memory made official. Fun fact: records were kept on bamboo slips, palm leaf, and early paper. Caravanserais buzzed with languages, coins, and customs as caravans met merchants. Fun fact: shared trade customs let strangers bargain with confidence. Palace courts heard petitions, settled disputes, and staged diplomacy. Fun fact: edicts carved on stone or bronze spread law as official truth. Scales, seals, and tablets standardized weights, measures, and accounts. Fun fact: stamped seals, like those of the Indus, helped prevent tampering. City markets thrived beside granaries where surplus was stored and taxed. Fun fact: grain taxes fed armies and stabilized prices in drought years. Smiths, weavers, and porters turned raw materials into wealth on the move. Fun fact: bronze tools and silk textiles became prestige exports. Monasteries and libraries preserved knowledge, copying texts, teaching medicine, maths, and philosophy. Fun fact: centers like Nalanda drew students from across Asia. Mariners mastered monsoon winds and star paths to stitch seas to markets. Fun fact: lateen sails let ships tack efficiently across the wind. On rooftops, astronomers charted eclipses and built star tables for calendars and voyages. Fun fact, armillary spheres modelled the heavens in brass. By lamplight, scholars translated and commented on manuscripts, ideas travelling with scripts. Fun fact, works moved between Sanskrit, Chinese, Tibetan, Arabic and beyond. Change gathers. Watch it unfold. And so the story circles back. At first light, the great rivers breathe mist into the valleys, awakening old paths. Villages gather like beads along the banks, drifting toward the promise of cities. In quiet workshops, hands learn the language of wood, bronze, and clay. Caravans thread the deserts, carrying stories with salt, spice, and silk. Materials become meaning. The sheen of silk, the patina of metal, the memory in fired earth. Under lamplight, devotion and learning share a roof. Monks keep time with breath and ink. Across warm seas, lateen sails write curved scripts upon the wind. Gates of power rise in stone and banner, staging ceremony and law. Yet every grandeur meets dust. Squares fall silent. Walls remember ash. Markets return the pulse. Voices, colours, and bargaining laughter stitch strangers into neighbours. Beyond, modern skylines climb beside old monuments, past and present in one frame. Fields, ruins, and homes lie patterned together, landscapes of labour and memory. And at sunrise, hopeful hands shape the future, one careful craft at a time.